Judge in this case has already ruled that NASCAR does have a monopoly, but not all monopolies are illegal. The question now for the jury is whether or not NASCAR abused its power to limit competition and harm some team owners like Michael Jordan.
Day 2 of the Michael Jordan NASCAR trial just ended, and what happened inside that Charlotte courtroom is absolutely insane. Denny Hamlin sat in the witness stand for over 3 hours, and he didn't hold back one bit. Hamlin's testimony got heated, really heated. The Associated Press said it was contentious, which is just a nice way of saying things got ugly in there. And trust me, it did. Here's what Hamlin told everyone in that courtroom. He makes $14 million a year driving race cars for Joe Gibbs. Racing? That sounds like a lot of money, right? But then he dropped this number on everyone. He and Michael Jordan have put $100 million into their race team since they started it in 2020. $100 million. And those charters they bought so they could race? The first one cost them $4.7 million. The second one was $13.5 million. The third one was $28 million. That's almost $50 million just to have permission to show up at the racetrack. But here's where it gets really interesting. Hamlin said it cost $20 million to run just one race car for a whole season. Not 2 cars, not 3 cars, just one car, and that $20 million doesn't even include paying the driver or running the business side of the team. So here's the problem. If a charter only pays $12.5 million to the team, you're already $7.5 million in the hole before the season even starts. That's what Hamlin says is killing race teams. NASCAR's lawyer, Lawrence Buterman, came at Hamlin hard during cross-examination. He asked Hamlin a tough question. Why are you asking for $25 million in damages when that's a 900% return on your investment? Hamlin struggled with that one. He said, "We want to be made whole for what you guys did to us." But Buterman kept pushing. He showed the jury some emails where Hamlin told Michael Jordan that NASCAR's charter system and the next-gen car made it a great time to invest in the sport. But now Hamlin is in court saying those same things are part of a monopoly. Hamlin fired back. He said, "I believed NASCAR when they told me it would cut operating costs by 40%. He said that never happened. The costs didn't go down like NASCAR promised they would." Then things got really personal. Buterman showed the jury that Hamlin goes on racing podcasts all the time and says nice things about NASCAR. He asked Hamlin why he tells fans everything is great when he's sitting in court saying everything is terrible. Hamlin's answer shocked everyone in that courtroom. He said, "What I do publicly is put out positive messages. That's my job. You give me talking points. I say it to make fans feel happy." He basically admitted he can't say what he really thinks when he's talking to fans or doing interviews. Why? Because NASCAR will punish him for it. He said if he says negative things publicly, there are consequences. Problems in technical inspection, getting called to the hauler, NASCAR, not liking what he said. Hamlin looked right at the NASCAR lawyer and said, "You're able to essentially dictate how I do." Buterman asked if that means people can't trust what Hamlin says publicly. Hamlin called that nonsense, but then he explained again that if he's negative in public, bad things happen at the racetrack. Here's another big moment from the trial. Hamlin talked about a meeting he had with NASCAR chairman Jim France back in 2023 in Nashville. He said France was eating lunch alone, so Hamlin sat down with him to talk about the charter negotiations. France told Hamlin that teams spend too much money. France said it should only cost $10 million a year to run a car, not $20 million. Hamlin told France, "We've cut this grass so short, we're down to the dirt." He asked France how he could get his money back if he had to cut costs in half. And Hamlin said France had no answer. Nothing. Just sat there with no solution to the problem. That's when Hamlin decided he couldn't sign the new charter agreement. He called it, essentially, my death certificate for the future. He said, "I think it was the only decision. It's time for change. All I knew is we were right and what they did was wrong." But NASCAR wasn't done fighting back. Their lawyer pointed out that Hamlin and Jordan charged their own race team $1 million a year in rent for the team shop. He showed messages from Michael Jordan's money guy, calling Hamlin a terrible businessman who spends money recklessly. Hamlin didn't seem bothered by any of that. He said, "Me and Michael, we want to win." And apparently Jordan was sitting in the front row, smiling and nodding when Hamlin said that. People watching the trial said Michael Jordan grinned, smirked, shook his head, and laughed during Hamlin's testimony. He seemed to really enjoy watching Hamlin go back and forth with NASCAR's lawyer. Then the afternoon session started, and NASCAR executive Scott Prime took the witness stand. This is where things got even more interesting. Prime is NASCAR's chief strategy officer. He makes $400,000 a year, and the lawyer for 2311 Racing, Jeffrey Kessler, absolutely grilled him about NASCAR's plans to stop any competing race series from starting. Kessler showed the jury emails from as far back as 2020, where Prime worried about a breakaway series. Prime wrote that a competing series could demonstrate to team owners and drivers that there are alternatives. He said NASCAR needed to avoid what happened in open-wheel racing when kart and IRL split up and destroyed the sport's popularity. So what did NASCAR do? They made deals with the racetracks to prevent any other stock car series from racing there. The Las Vegas Motor Speedway agreement is a perfect example. NASCAR put in a 2-year exclusivity clause that went beyond the actual contract. So even after the deal with NASCAR ended, the track couldn't host a rival series for 2 more years. That takes them through 2026, which is exactly when a new series would most likely try to start. Prime also had to explain why NASCAR blocked the SRX racing series from using Speedway Motorsports tracks. Those tracks wanted SRX races to make money and pay off debt. But NASCAR said no. Then Kessler showed the jury some explosive text messages from May 2024 between NASCAR's top executives. These texts showed that NASCAR's leadership team was frustrated with their own bosses. Steve O'Donnell texted that NASCAR's approach was leading them to a comfortable 1996 the teams, dictatorship, motorsport, redneck, Southern tiny sport. Scott Prime responded, "The approach of here is a bit more money. Off everywhere else is a bold strategy." Steve Phelps, who was NASCAR's president, texted about a chart showing 0 wins for the teams. He said, "We are moving forward." These are NASCAR's own executives saying their bosses weren't giving the teams anything they asked for in negotiations. And Prime admitted under questioning that when you look at the final agreement, NASCAR didn't give in on any of the major things teams wanted. Kessler told Prime, "You kept all the power." Kessler also pointed out that Prime learned Formula One teams get 50% of that sport's overall revenue, while NASCAR teams only get 20 to 25%. Prime even wrote in an email that the team owners have a point about wanting more money. But here's where it got awkward for Prime. He kept saying he didn't know much about the track agreements and that his job was just putting together PowerPoint slides for presentations. So Kessler asked, "How much do you make?" Prime said, $400,000. Kessler shot back, "That's a lot for someone that just puts slides together for someone else." Prime just said, "That's your opinion." The jury also heard that Prime suggested NASCAR should make a deal with Saudi Arabia's investment fund before they could reach out to race teams about starting a competing series. That shows how worried NASCAR was about losing control of the sport. NASCAR pointed out that 2311 made $2.5 million in profit in 2022 and $3.4 million in 2023. They said Hamlin makes $14 million driving and that he and Jordan charged their own team $1 million in rent. They said the team is now worth $160 million just 4 years after starting. This trial has 8 more days to go. Scott Prime comes back Wednesday for more questioning. Then we'll hear from team owners like Richard Childress, Rick Hendrick, and Roger Penske. We'll even hear from NASCAR boss Jim France himself. This is far from over.